Explosion near the finish line at the Boston Marathon. Conservative columnist Eric Rush tweeted, then deleted what he claimed was a joke about rounding up Saudis and killing them. He tweeted, quote, "Everybody do the national security ankle grab. Let's bring more Saudis in without screening them. Come on." To which someone replied, quote, "Sweet Garda, you're already blaming Muslims." Eric Rush then tweeted back, "Yes, they're evil. Let's kill them all." Let's go to Nihad Awad in Washington, D.C. He is the National Executive Director of Council on American Islamic Relations. Your response?
Well, it is very unfortunate that Fox News would allow a commentator to still be engaged with them. So we issued an action alert. We asked the public to contact Fox News and to drop this commentator who basically is calling for religious genocide against Muslims without knowing the evidence against the Muslim community or members of the Muslim community. So unfortunately, politically driven commentators and self-styled experts on terrorism like Stephen Emerson, who has a career just in blaming American Muslims and targeting them, continue to have attention and continue to be hosted by major networks with total disregard to the sensitivities and to the facts themselves. So I know that thousands of people contacted Fox News to ask them to drop this commentator, but I wonder how many more are needed until Fox News pays attention to its credibility, which is really on the line.
Peter Hart, I'd like to ask you, you have the two things here. You have the existing biases that already exist consciously or subconsciously in the media, but then you have now, because of the internet now, this enormous pressure on news organizations to be the first to report something, any break on a major story. And the combination of these things, what it's doing to accurate reporting that the public is receiving.
Well, I think there's this tendency in broadcast, particularly in television, to be the first outlet to report something that is going to be public in a matter of minutes, hours anyway. Television outlets take great pride in declaring the winner of an election 5 seconds before their competitors. So I think there's this built-in kind of absurd competition. I think more important in this case is the history that we draw on. We read headlines, block letters across the front page of the USA Today the day afterwards. Terror has returned. This idea that the United States has not seen a terrorist attack since 9/11. This is a unique event right now. And we're forgetting a series of attacks committed by domestic right-wing extremists. The Sikh temple massacre. We're talking about the guy who went to a Unitarian church in Tennessee, killed 2 people, was inspired by a right-wing author. Several acts that seem to be connected to the rhetoric of Glenn Beck. These things are flushed down the memory hole. We don't even recall clearly enough who the actual culprit was in Atlanta, in the Atlanta bombing. People remember Richard Jewell. They remember the rush to consider him a suspect. They forget that Eric Rudolph, a right-wing domestic terrorist, anti-abortion extremist, was the person responsible for this. We forget all of these things, and our mind, in the media, our mind turns to Muslims, to Islamic terrorism, to the Times Square attempted bombing.
Last night, Comedy Central's Jon Stewart blasted CNN's misreporting.
This is CNN breaking news.
Wolf, we have information. An arrest has been made in the investigation here in Boston.
So the suspect that was identified has now been arrested.
I was told by a Boston law enforcement source, we got him.
I can't. You know, so many people, this is so important. So many people are going to be breathing easier tonight. Give me the details. This is exciting.
Federal law enforcement source says arrest has been made based on 2 different videos showing images of the suspect. The video enhancement showed a dark-skinned male placing the package at the second explosion site and backing away.
Well, that's tough. Dark-skinned male. That's wow. I don't know how they narrowed that down. I mean, that could be anybody from, you know, former Chicago Bull forward and current diplomat Dennis Rodman to bronze god George Hamilton. I mean, he's, you know, he could still, or maybe Brooklyn Assemblyman Dov Hikind if it were Purim, you know. So, boy, that's wow. But, you know, look, they had a tremendous amount of information. And more importantly,
We're getting some exclusive information from CNN's John King. You're working your sources. You're getting more information, exclusive reporting. You heard this dramatic exclusive reporting that John has done now.
You know what? This is why you turn to CNN in a crisis. You know, we make fun of them sometimes. We do. We tell jokes at their expense. But obviously, because they've got the boots on the ground and they can do the reporting, you know, as one of their competitors, I guess we just get a little jealous. Of these kinds of exclusives. Although we soon learned there was a very good reason why this was exclusive.
There has been no arrest, and in fact, a suspect has not been identified by name yet.
Oh, it's exclusive because it was completely wrong. That's why it was exclusive.
That's comedian Jon Stewart on CNN's Exclusive One.
Well, I want to ask Nihad Awad about another exclusive that even Jon Stewart didn't catch. The flight that was landed this week because two men on the flight were overheard speaking Arabic.
It's very unfortunate that to some people speaking Arabic, I speak Arabic, or speaking any foreign language in addition to English, is not a sign of crime. And at this heightened time, people should be sensitive, should be aware that during this calamity and the attacks on America, we should all be united. And this is what's great about this country. We get to one another. We don't get at each other. And, being different, being diverse is what's beautiful about this country, whether having a different race, different ethnicity, speaking more than one language. It is not a sign of suspicion or crime. So, yeah, we see some panic sometimes during these crises, but it's also up to the media, how they report this. And I would like to see reporters like Wolf Blitzer and John King holding themselves to higher journalistic standards, not to include race and prejudice in their commentary, and just to check the facts and not to do the work of investigators. Let the investigators finish their work. And I also have to say that I have been impressed by the investigators, by the government spokespeople. They have been restrained. They have been setting the tone for the entire nation to wait and see and to judge the facts, not to judge race or assign blame to people, entire communities or ethnicities or religion. I mean, this is wrong, and we should have learned so many lessons from the past. I think the concerns and the focus should be on the victims and their families, counseling them, making them know that we all are around them. They are in our thoughts, they are in our prayer, and let also the investigators do their job and wait and see, and not just to have this sense of competition just to fill the airtime, just shooting off our mouths, just to fulfill some desires and competitiveness. It is harmful, and it is really un-American.
Well, the FBI released a scathing statement cautioning journalists not to jump to conclusions, saying, quote, over the past day and a half, there have been a number of press reports based on information from unofficial sources that has been inaccurate. Since these stories often have unintended consequences, we ask the media, particularly at this early stage of the investigation, to exercise caution, attempt to verify information through appropriate official channels before reporting, they said. That ends this segment. Of course, we'll continue to cover the news